Absolutely, this is where the business is about to get started, and we're serious here.
So this is a heat of the Wyfold Challenge Cup for club coxless fours. That means one of the guys in the boat is steering. We have got the men from Nottingham Rowing Club. You're just looking at them now.
Attention!
And they are racing the crew on this side from Derby Rowing Club. And the umpire has just given the start. Looks clean from both crews. Heat of the Wyfolds. First race of the final session of 2023. And here we go, Kat.
It's a derby, isn't it? We've got Nottingham versus Derby. These are local crews that have raced each other again, and everybody wants to get through Tuesday. So a really clean start, pretty evenly matched at the moment.
Yeah, it's hard to pick a winner for this one, although I was looking through the Palmares of Nottingham Rowing Club, that club there on the Trent, just by Trent Bridge. And they have had some amazing people in that club. And one of the guys that won the Wyfolds for Nottingham Rowing Club was Matt Gottrell, the British horseman who went on to win Olympic gold in Rio in 2016. So that's the kind of people you get at Nottingham Rowing Club.
This is looking quite exciting already, isn't it? They got warned there, of course, they're in the Wyfold, so Tuesday's a day where you're also getting nervous about steering and learning what to do coming out of the island. So both of these crews will be thinking about that as they try and get into a rhythm. But I'd say we've got some early showing from the crew from Derby.
Nice easy rhythm set by Oliver Hanks. There he is. We're looking at the 21-year-old senior men's captain for the 22-23 season is Oliver. Goodness me, he's been rowing for 8 years. That's a long, long time for a 21-year-old to be rowing. Behind him with the white cap, James Bennett, 28, more experienced. James Walker, even more experienced at 29. And Tom Main up in the bows, the 25-year-old. He's on the right of your picture. They have that lead, which they got just off the end of the island. It's just what we say, it's a canvas, or if you're watching in America, you don't know what canvas is. Basically, it's a deck.
The men from Nottingham are pressuring, so the crews are in touch. They can hear each other, they can feel each other, and Nottingham know they need to stay in touch. This is going to be a real sort of test out here of one having done the start. What's the race pace? That's what they're finding now. So Nottingham are really starting to put that pressure back on Derby.
Yeah, well, the stroke man, we saw a glimpse of Harry Fraser-Urquhart, the 22-year-old at stroke. He's been through the Newcastle University programme, that fearsome programme that Angelo Savarino runs. He's got a full-time job in finance, financial consulting, so he travels to Nottingham basically for quite a distance. And I think if we look at those blades there, that's the blades of the leading crew, Nottingham crew. There he is, the stroke man with that white t-shirt on, Harry Fraser-Urquhart. Behind him, Daniel Town, the 23-year-old, the relatively young crew this. Henry Cross, great name, I love that Henry. In the 2 seats, rode for Nottingham Trent during his undergraduate degree, and Chris Finch up in the bows, just 21.
So the smoothness, the length of that Nottingham crew is now starting to give them a bit more run each stroke, and they are starting to edge ahead of the Derby crew. They had such a great start. They've been really building things around Oliver Hanks, who got a top 10 pairs head finish last year, came 9th, which was the highest ever finish for a Derby boat at the head of a river race since the 1970s. So they knew they got something special there. But they are being asked a lot of questions now by this very smooth-looking crew from Nottingham.
Do you think these guys from Nottingham did a big push to take that back, or do you think they just did it in the rhythm, Kath?
I think it's per stroke. I think they've got a little bit more length, a little bit more accuracy, a little bit sharper, covering the blades at the catch. So every stroke after the start, once they've sort of been into their race rhythm, they've just been getting more meters per stroke.
So we're in the middle of the course, the kind of no man's land in the middle where you're away from the bank. There's not much noise coming from the spectators, particularly on the Tuesday. You focus in on your rhythm. Look at the bellman there. He's right down the boat, Christopher Finch. Just finished his 2nd year of a physics degree at Nottingham Trent University. Really intent focus, but okay, they've got a lead, but it's not a convincing lead, is it? And if the Derby crew can do something in this middle part of the course, who knows what might happen?
The Derby do need to make a move now because they can't see their opposition. They'll see the puddles, and they are within touching distance, but it's quite a move that's needed now. But you do have to start making up that distance, otherwise you run out down the end. We know it's got a bit windier and a bit poppier, hasn't it, through the afternoon. So they'll be feeling that on their backs, they'll be feeling that wash, and they've got to test out what moves have they got in the Derby crew.
Yeah, it's interesting, we haven't talked about the headwind that much, but it is a decent holding breeze, isn't it, down the Henley Reach, and they are rowing against the stream and into a headwind. This is a long course. What impact is that going to have on the crews, Kat?
Well, it's where your basic race pace has got to be on it. So, you know, you don't want to be in an expensive place. You need the run between the strokes. You need to be sitting up with good posture, which we can see there in the Nottingham crew. I like it. It looks like they are being efficient. It's hard work, no question. But actually there's some good relaxation on the faces there, particularly the middle to the crew there. Henry and Daniel doing a really solid job in the middle. And they've got to be efficient. They can see Derby, that helps them. They can see if they start to do any moves. But to me, it's not looking sharp enough in the Derby crew. They need to sharpen things up to come back at Nottingham.
Big ask for Ollie Hanks, the 21-year-old strokeman. I was going to say, for that Nottingham crew, it doesn't look like headwind rowing, does it? It looks like they're kind of on it, quite up, nice and bright and breezy. It does look like a bit more headwind rowing if you look at the Derby crew.
Yeah, we can see really good kind of efficiency, can't we? The entering of the oars, when it pans out a little bit, they are not missing it behind the pin, whereas we're just a little shorter, in fact, in the Nottingham crew. It feels just as hard work, probably feels more hard work sometimes when you're rowing short. But I love that length here. We're seeing them in Nottingham really kind of ease out there, and Derby is struggling. Now the steering starts to go again. You know, everything's working against you. You can feel the wash of the other crew, you can feel the headwind, you can feel as you get tired that the timing just starts to go a little, and then the steering goes as well. So, you know, they'll be heads on thinking what moves have they got left, but Derby need to start thinking about that as soon as possible.
Yeah, Tim Main up in the bows, that's his back closest to us, the crew on the left-hand side. He's got the magic foot, that is the foot attached to wires which steer that little rudder. They're still in there, Derby, but, you know, it does look good. There we are, Tim Main. We were talking about him, the 25-year-old. Raced in the Wyfolds in 2017 in his second club, Marlow.
And that's a big gap now. They're now cruising. They've dropped the rate. They're in the enclosures. And Nottingham can sense the next round is coming.
It certainly is. And Nottingham come up to the line. Great race for Nottingham Rowing Club. They really did well after Derby had an early lead. Derby crossed the line now. Henry Cross draws his bow and arrow. I guess that's a Nottingham thing, like Robin Hood.
Is that sort of on water Usain Bolt move?
Oh, I think it's like, you know, Robin Hood from Nottingham. But yeah, we like that, Henry, and so more of that to come.